So welcome back. We are now in segment 5.11, and in this segment we will be discussing about non-operating expenses. So as the name implies, non-operating means which is not directly linked to the direct operation of the company. So in an earlier segment while discussing sales, we discussed also an amount called non-operating income. There we said non-operating income is any income where which is not tied to the actual operations of the company. So when we speak of an example, interest on fixed deposits. So the company has some fixed deposits and it has placed the fixed deposits in the bank and it is earning some interest on it. So this is an income, but then this is not the income from the core activity of the company. The core activity of the company is something like manufacture of steel or selling of cement, right, or trading of some computers. So any one activity, a core activity, there will be a major activity of the company, and income earned from that activity will be the sales. So income from any other activity will be a non-operating income. Similarly, in expenses, we have seen various expenses starting from raw material, stores and spares, power, labor, interest, selling expenses, various we have seen. But all are linked in a way to the core operations of the company. So the company, in order to execute, in order to undertake the core activity like manufacturing or selling related to the activity of the company, the expenses is incurred so far will be the expenses we have discussed so far. But non-operating expenses are expenses that are not related, right? They're not related to the core activity, the main activity of the company. So those expenses will be a non-operating expense. For example, take the example of donations. So company has made some donation to some organization. So even though it's an admirable act, right? Even though it's an admirable act, it's got nothing to do with the operations of the company. So when you list out the various expenses in a company, when you come to donations, please note that this has got nothing to do with the operations of the company, the core activity of the company. So this is an expense because it has spent some amount, some cash has gone out of the business. So it is an expense, but then it is not linked to the core activity of the company. So this will be a non-operating expense. So let us see various items that can come under this category. Right, so amortization of intangible assets, amount written off, etc. So this is a non-operating expense. Sometimes you will see depreciation and amortization, right? Usually you'll see some credit officers will be classifying this under a single head of depreciation. So in CMA data, we already discussed that there is a item called depreciation. So some officers what they'll do, they'll club depreciation amortization under the head of depreciation. But then, whereas you'll see some officers put only depreciation in the depreciation head, and then under the non-operating expense they will put the amortization. Again, this is a choice available to you. Usually this is placed in the non-operating expense. So amortization we didn't discuss about intangible assets. So when we come to intangible assets, we'll be discussing about amortization. For the moment, you can put it on the non-operating expense. Donations and charities we have discussed right now. It is a non-operating expense. Loss due to fluctuation in foreign exchange. So what happens is sometimes, say for example, a company has placed an order for a machine. This is an imported machine. A company has placed an order. So the machine is costing $1,000. So on the day of ordering the exchange rate, on the day of ordering the machine, the exchange rate was $1 is 50 rupees. So see, $1 is 50 means in rupee terms this $1,000 means 50,000 rupees. But then the payment is on credit basis. We discuss what is a credit payment. So the company need not pay this amount right now. So 50,000, right? 50,000 rupees is the cost of the machine. So we know under the accrual system of accounting, even though it is a credit payment, we for us what is important is the event, not the actual cash flow. So we directly record this 50,000 as an expense. Okay, fine. But when it comes to the actual payment on the day, for example, this is a 30-day credit period. So after the 30 days, when you have to actually pay the payment, that exchange rate the rupee has depreciated, and now it is costing 52 rupees. So earlier it was 50,000, but now it is 52,000. So this 2,000 is a loss. This is loss due to forex fluctuation, and this we classify under non-operating expense because it's not actually an expense for the machine. See, machine expense was 50,000 and we recorded this in the books of the account because it's a credit transaction, and as per accrual system of accounting we need to enter this as and when the transaction has taken place. Now when it comes to the actual payment, the exchange rate has varied and now the company has to pay 52,000. So you can classify under loss due to forex fluctuation. It is a non-operating expense. Similarly, impairment of goodwill. This is also a non-operating expense. Loss on cancellation of forward swap. These are all derivative instruments. So if you're not comfortable with derivatives, please note that derivative is all these are derivative instruments, and loss on these items can be classified as non-operating expense. Again, loss on fixed asset. For example, a company has bought furniture for 10,000 rupees. Then after 4 years, we know that as per depreciation, will be depreciating each year some amount. So after 4 years, the written down value is 6,000. So the written down value is 6,000. Now if we decide to sell this asset and realized only 4,000. So while the book value is 6,000, that is the written down value, we could actually sell it for only 4,000. So there is a loss of 2,000. This 2,000 will be a loss on sale of fixed asset. So this will be classifying as a non-operating expense. Again, this has got nothing to do with the operations of the company. This is not an expense related to production or sale, the general selling expenses. This is a non-operating expense. Again, loss on sale of investments. Just like, for example, the company has bought some shares and at the time when it has decided to sell, after a period of time, it has actually incurred a loss. So that is also a non-operating expense. Interest on partners' capital, interest on unsecured loans. This we already discussed. This is a non-operating expense. Let us continue with our example of Maruti Suzuki. Here we can see the item called amortization. In the item of depreciation and amortization, we have the breakup of depreciation and amortization. So depreciation, we already placed it under the separate item of depreciation in the CMA data. So this item of depreciation, this amortization, let us put it under non-operating expense. So 373, that is 37.3, we'll put it under the non-operating expense. So 37.3 crores we are putting under non-operating expense. Okay, under the head of non-operating expense, we are putting it under others. Some breakup is given, like others, interest on capital, and I have put this under others, right? Non-operating expense. So in the schedule for 31 other expenses, let us see whether there are any non-operating expenses. So consumption of stores we have already discussed, it goes under stores. Power and fuel we have discussed. Rent is a direct expense. Repairs and maintenance we have taken all these expenses. Insurance, rates, royalty, tools. So net loss on foreign currency transaction. So this is a non-operating expense. So you have to take 278.1. Right? This is one expense you have to take. Advertisement we have put it under selling expense, sales promotion, warranty, distribution expense. Net loss on sale of fixed asset. So this 115.7. Right, this is also a non-operating expense. Provision for doubtful debts, put it under selling expense. Other miscellaneous is a general expense. So 278.1 and 15.7. So these two items have to put under the non-operating expense. So 293.8 crores. This will be putting under the non-operating expense. So 293.8. Already we had 37.3. This we already had under non-operating expense. Now we'll be adding the 293.8. So total 331.1 will be the non-operating expense, right? For Maruti Suzuki. With this we come to the end of the segment. In the next segment, that is segment 5.12, we'll be discussing about provision for taxation, right? See you then.